Hello wine people, in this video I'll explain factors in the vineyard or terroir that is affecting style, quality and price of the wine. My name is Petar, I'm a certified WSET educator and sommelier, and I'll help you to learn wine. So let's go. So let's start with these two concepts. Great wine is made in a vineyard, and terroir, don't get scared now, okay? I know people are talking a lot about terroir, but it's not actually explained well. So in this video I'll explain what it means. It's just a fancy word describing the actual factors in the vineyard that are affecting the style, quality and price of the wine. On the end here I mentioned level 3 and level 4 for the price of the wine. When you're studying for level 2, pricing of the wine and business of the wine is not really mentioned, but then when you get into level 3 and especially in level 4, the business of wine and pricing, costing is very important to understand. So what does mean great wine is made in a vineyard? You can have the best winemaker in the world, but if he doesn't have a great quality raw material grapes, he will not make a great wine. Terroir factors, I'll explain one by one, all the factors that are affecting style and quality and price of the wines. If you're a WSET student, you will hear this a lot, how factors in the vineyard and in the winery, we'll make a different video for the winemaking, are affecting style, quality and price of the wine. This is key when you're studying for WSET. What we will be talking about, I'll explain the difference between climate and weather. We will go into one by one into 9 vineyard factors or terroir that are affecting style, quality and price of the wine. Weather and vintage variation, I'll explain what does it mean, and then on the end we will answer 10 WSET example questions. What is climate? Climate is average levels of temperature, sunlight and rainfall in a growing season measured over a long period of time. So climate is something that doesn't happen year to year. It's something that happens over a longer period of time, 10, 20, 30, 40 and more years. Today climate change is a huge topic because now climate changes are moving faster and they're more evident, and of course they're affecting the wine business as well. On the other hand, weather is what actually happens on a day-to-day basis. So today it can be sunny and dry, tomorrow it can be windy and rainy, and it is the job of people managing the vineyards to manage it as well as possible, because climate and weather is unpredictable. Great wine is made in a vineyard, so people in the vineyard, viticulturists, manage the vineyards, and then the second part of the job is when you get these grapes into the winery. It is the job of the winemaker to preserve the quality of the grapes and make a great wine. The point today is what is considered a high quality wine is to preserve the quality of the grapes, for the grapes to express its grape variety and to show the sense of place where they're coming from, and to express that in the winery through winemaking. Climate can be classified in several ways. Here I'll explain the two main ways that climate is classified, based on the temperature and based on the rain pattern during the year. So temperature, sunlight and rainfall is just few of the parameters that are taken into consideration when classifying climate. Regarding the temperature consideration, based on the temperature, the climate can be cool, moderate and warm, and here you can see how it looks based on the Celsius and Fahrenheit. What you need to, how this is measured, so basically your growing season from somewhere in April until October in the northern hemisphere and 6 months before in the southern hemisphere. You take this 6 months, you take the temperatures during the growing season on every day, you minus 10 degrees Celsius on each day. That is necessary in order for the wine to start ripening. You take an average, you divide it by the number of months, and you get your temperature, average temperature. So in a cooler climate, the grapes will be fresher, lower alcohol, higher acidity. In a warmer climate, it will be opposite. Based on the rainfall pattern, the climate can be classified into maritime, continental, and Mediterranean. Okay, so the main difference between maritime, continental, and Mediterranean is the temperature in the growing season, and also the timing of the rainfall. So two of these climates, maritime and Mediterranean, they have a moderation effect from usually seas or oceans, and they have a less temperature difference between winter and summer because of this moderation. Maritime climate has an even spread of rainfall throughout the year. Mediterranean climate has a warm summer, moderated winter, and the rainfall usually falls in the winter. Continental climate, and usually maritime climate, is a little bit cooler because it's higher in latitude, and Mediterranean climate is usually closer to the equator, so it has a warmer Mediterranean climate. Continental climate, on the other hand, it doesn't have moderation like maritime and Mediterranean. It's usually surrounded by land, and for this reason has an extreme temperature difference between winter and summer. Summers are very hot and winters are very cold. Examples of climates: Parisian maritime climate you're going to find in Bordeaux, continental climate you're going to find in Burgundy, for example, and Mediterranean climate you're gonna find in, for example, southern Italy or south of France. So the 9 climatic factors, or terroir, are this. So latitude, the most important one. Altitude, seas, rivers, air, cloud, fog, mist, mountains, slope and aspect, and soil. And we'll go one by one. Latitude. Latitude is the geographic location where the vineyards are located. So all the vineyards in the world at the moment are located between 30 and 50 degrees latitude, north and south hemisphere. Why between 30 and 50? It is because at the moment this is the optimum temperature range where vineyards can grow successfully. Everything below 30, closer to the equator, will be too hot, too tropical, and then everything above 50 will be too cold. Here on this picture you can actually see how the sun sun intensity affects the earth. So the sun is the most intense on the equator because it takes the least amount of energy to reach the soil, and then on the pole it takes the most amount of energy and loses that energy while it is reaching the poles. Altitude, so just to explain the point, latitude affects the climate very much because on the poles it will be cooler, closer to the equator it will be warmer, and this will of course affect the ripeness of the grapes. But there are factors in the vineyard that can mitigate, that can moderate the climate. So the idea with these other factors is to slow down the ripening process if it's needed, for example in a warmer climate, or cool or to enhance the ripening process if, for example, if you're in a cooler climate. So this is a great picture of Mendoza. In Mendoza and Argentina in general, it's a very warm country, and actually all the vineyards are located on the west side of the country, where the vineyards, especially in Mendoza, are on 500 and plus meters in altitude. This altitude helps the ripening process in Argentina. Argentina is the eastern side is a desert, and then the Andes mountains that separate Chile from Argentina, all the vineyards are located on the mountains. So one of the highest mountains in the world are located in Argentina, and they're more than 3,000 meters above sea level. So what happens when you go up in altitude? The temperature difference, the temperature decreases. So every 100 meters, the temperature decreases about 0.6 degrees, and this slows down the ripening process. And because the vineyards are located on the higher altitude, the sun intensity is higher. So this helps with ripeness of the tannins. So even though this is a factor that helps to slow down the process in a warm climate. Seas. This is a picture of South Africa. And regarding seas and rivers or any kind of water, what you need to understand is that seas and water in general cools down and warms up more slowly than land. So what does this mean? This means if you're like here in South Africa, which has a warm Mediterranean climate, the inland part is very, very warm. The water, the ocean, is cooler. So this helps cool down the vineyards. There's three main currents that is mentioned a lot in the WSET classes. It is Humboldt, which is affecting Chile. It is Benguela, that is affecting South Africa, and then both of these are cool currents that are cooling down the vineyards. And then the warm one is the Gulf Stream that is coming from Central America and is affecting, warming up the vineyards in Bordeaux. Rivers. This is a picture in Mosel in Germany, which has a cool climate, and this river Mosel and rivers in Germany, they help to enhance the ripening process in this cool climate. So here we're going to talk about slope, but the point here is the river. The river moderates the climate, so it is warmer than the land, so it enhances the ripeness and also reflects the sun into the vineyards. So this also helps with the ripening process. Air and mountains. So here, this is a great picture of a mountain, Vosges mountain, in the region of Alsace. Alsace is located in very northeast part of France, which is generally very cool. So you would expect that it has a lot of that is a cool region and that it has a lot of rainfall. But actually, Alsace is one of the driest and the sunniest region in France, and it is because of the Vosges mountains. So what is the purpose of Vosges mountains in this region? It is actually to protect the region from the bad weather that is coming from the Atlantic Ocean, from the west side. So it protects from the wind, from rain and snow. So here on the picture you can see actually that on the top of the mountain, on the west side, there's 2,000 milliliters of rain, which is a lot. And then on the east side of the mountain, it's only 550. And it is Alsace has a very long growing season, and the reason why it has this long growing season is because of the protection of the mountains. Aspect is the direction of the vineyard, so in which direction the vineyards are facing. When you say aspect, these vineyards are located on hills. The main difference between hills and mountains is that mountains are taller than hills. So aspect is the direction of the vineyards. The favorable aspect or direction of the vineyards that need to be facing in the northern hemisphere is facing south, southeast, southwest, and then in the southern hemisphere is opposite. It is facing north, northeast, or northwest. Aspect helps with the ripening in a way that if the vineyard is on the slope, the sun intensity is higher on the slope than on the flat land. Also, aspect can help with air circulation. So what you need to know with air circulation is that cold air gathers on the bottom of the hill. So on the hill, the air is always circulating, which is very important for the health of the grapes. And then, of course, hill aspect or hill can protect also from unfavorable weather that is coming from the opposite side. Cloud, fog, and mist. Cloud cover affects the wine because it slows down the ripening process, because it doesn't allow for the sun to penetrate into the wines. There is a very famous region in Australia called Hunter Valley that has a very particular high cloud cover, and they produce a beautiful, amazing Semillon wines that are 11% alcohol and that can age very well in the bottle. But the percent of alcohol is so low because of this cloud cover, because it has less sun intensity. Fog and mist are very famous, especially in California, in Carneros and Napa. This fog and mist slows down the ripening process because of the lower temperature that they bring. The main difference between fog and mist: fog is thicker than the mist. And why they happened, fog and mist, is because of the temperature difference between land and water. So usually the land is more warmer, so the warm air, so the cool air actually gets sucked inside the land. It's like a vacuum system. Soil is a very interesting wine topic. There's a lot of talk going around how does the soil affect the flavor of the wine and all that. When you're studying with WSET, they explain you how actually the physical elements of the soil, how they affect the ripening process, which has perfect sense. So what you need to know about soil, you need to know what are the characteristics of the soil. Are the soils helping the ripening process, or are the soils cooling down the vineyard and slowing down the ripening process? So here on the soil texture, you have three main type of textures. It's clay, sand, and silt. Clay is the most the smallest particles. So smallest particles, stay with me, smallest particles makes the soil very dense. One of the qualities of the soil that you need to understand is the draining capacity. So the soil can have the capacity to drain well, to drain water well, or to drain water less. So this also depends, what is favorable in the climate. If the climate is dry, it's favorable to have a more dense soil, so it can actually retain the water. If the climate is maritime and you already have a lot of water, then it's better to have a good drainage in the soil. So if you have a lot of clay is very small, so it's very thick in the soil, so this retains water. On the other hand, if you have sand particles are actually quite big and they have good drainage, and then silt and loam are in the middle. And soil is never just clay, sand or loam, it's always a combination. So this is the logic behind the soil. Then regarding the soil, it's how soil is made, and this is done over millennia. So it can be created in a sedimentary way. Sedimentary means basically just piling soil on top of each other. That creates usually hills. Metamorphic means that basically the rock is compressed by cold and hot over the long period of time. And then igneous is made by volcanic activity. Also, one thing that usually hard rocks, they have the capacity to have good drainage. Also, darker soils, they have the ability to retain heat. Weather, like we said, weather is something that happens on a day-to-day basis, and it's very important for the people in the vineyards to understand what the weather in the vineyard, so they can be proactive with their decisions. The weather is the most important at the beginning of the growing season, when the wines are starting to bud, to flower. These flowers are very gentle, and bad weather can destroy these flowers and reduce the crop or the yields, the amount of grapes that can be successfully ripened during the growing season. And then on the end, when it's time to harvest the grapes, it is very important for you to pick the grapes before the rain falls, because the rain will dilute the flavors in the vineyard. So weather creates vintage variation. What does mean vintage variation? You're going to hear this a lot, especially from the winemakers. They're going to say this vintage was good, this vintage was bad, and usually this means that they had favorable or less favorable weather during the season that affected the amount of grapes and also the quality of those grapes. In a cool weather, you're going to have less ripe grapes. In warmer vintages, you're going to have more ripe grapes. Weather challenges in the vineyard are drought, rain, hail, and frost. Drought is when you have warm weather with high temperatures and lack of water, and this can stop the photosynthesis, and you can actually have unripe grapes in this kind of weather. Rain, like I said, it's during the growing season it's great, and then it is unfavorable for it to rain on the end of the season and in the flowering stage. Hail is never favorable. Hail can destroy the grapes, and it can also damage the wine. Frost is when you have temperatures below 0 Celsius, and you can have even freezes that is below 20-30 degrees that can actually kill the whole plant, the wine. Ready for the questions? Let's go. In which climate rain falls during the growing season? Cool climate, maritime climate, Mediterranean climate, continental climate. The correct answer is B, maritime climate. This is the main characteristic of this climate. Rainfall falls during the whole growing season. Which climate has the highest temperature difference between the seasons? Continental, Mediterranean, warm, and maritime. The correct answer is A, continental. Which climate is closer to the equator? Maritime, Mediterranean, warm, continental. The correct answer is B, Mediterranean climate. Warm climate regions benefit from high altitude. True or false? This is true, because higher altitude reduces the temperature in the vineyard. Which of the following factors can protect vineyards from rain? Seas, soils, mountains, aspect. The correct answer is C, mountains. Warm soils have high amount of clay content. True or false? This is false because clay retains water, so it's a cool soil. Fog helps vineyards to prolong the growing season. True or false? True. It's a cooling, moderating effect, right? Which of the following can negatively affect the vineyards? Drought, rain, hail, and frost. All the above. The correct answer is D, all the above. Which of the following can help with frost problems? Slopes, rivers, sprinklers, all the above. The correct answer is D, all the above. But let me explain because I didn't mention this. Frost is when you have temperatures below zero. So slopes help with the frost problems because the cold air doesn't stop on soils. The cold air drops on the bottom of the hill. So you don't have problems with frost. Rivers, like we said, it moderates the temperature, so it reduces risk of frost. Sprinklers, we didn't mention this. Sprinklers is a system where you actually have sprinklers and they sprinkle water in the vineyard, and this water actually freezes, and this freezing actually protects usually the buds in the vineyard from weather outside. And last question, sand content is a soil. Sand content in a soil is beneficial in maritime climate. True or false? This is true because soil has good draining capacity. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the questions and the lecture. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you want to help us to grow our wine channel, please consider sharing, subscribing, and commenting. And I'll see you in the next video.